Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Untitled Reviews. Now, Turtle Beach have often been one of the most revered manufacturers of gaming headsets over the years. And this brand new Stealth 700 Gen 2 Max, as well as being quite the mouthful, looks to be the latest in a long line of amazing headsets from the green side of the gaming headset world. If you discount Razer, of course. It clocks in at a price of £179 or 199 euros or dollars, as it were. And with that price, it represents quite the premium gaming headset option, rivaling the likes of HyperX's Cloud Alpha Wireless and Asus's ROG Fusion 2500 to be the best. What you'll be getting here is rather vast compatibility, 50mm drivers, 2 modes of connectivity, and a quoted 40 hours of battery life. And with all that and more, it might just convince you to invest once again in a Turtle Beach headset. Is it worth your money? Let's find out. The box, it's fair to say you get a fair bit of content with the Stealth 700 Gen 2 Maxes themselves, complete with a cardboard box full of literature, a USB-C charging cable, and wireless receiver. So, on the front of design, build quality, and indeed features, how do the Stealth 700 Gen 2 Maxes perform? Well, I can't help but think that these are an incredibly well-made headset, being comprised of some rather hard plastics that certainly help these to look rather sturdy and indeed rugged. Speaking of that rugged aesthetic, quite intriguingly, you do get kind of almost exposed drivers, as it were, behind a thin film on the ear cups of these, which just help these to look rather purposeful. It seems to be the case that gaming headsets are either going in one of two directions these days. At one end, with things like Asus's ROG Fusion 2500, you've got these slightly more minimalistic and sleeker, modern-looking headsets, whilst at the other, you've got things like this that adhere to the kind of more classic formula, as it were. For a gaming headset, with something that looks rugged, purposeful, and traditionally gaming in its aesthetics, as it were. You won't find any RGB lighting, though, which is intriguing given what I've just said. So if you want RGB, you may be kind of better looking elsewhere. But what you will find, as you'll notice, especially from the ear cups and indeed the headband, is quite the large amount of padding. And what this makes for is not only an immensely comfortable fit overall, but also some incredible passive noise isolation. These things do weigh around 16 ounces, which is around 450 grams or so, so they are quite heavy by comparison to other wireless gaming headsets, which means that whilst they are comfortable for the most part, there is also the fact that the kind of clamping force around the headband, given how heavy these things are, is a little bit tight for my liking. You can make them kind of a little less tight, as it were, with adjustability, but straight out the box they can feel a little bit tight given that weight, which is probably something to bear in mind if you're going to be taking part in some more kind of marathon gaming sessions, as it were. What you'll notice is that also there is a rather large amount of multimedia controls, and they're all really situated on the headset's left-hand side. Starting from the bottom, you get the USB-C port for charging, complete with Bluetooth connectivity pairing button, a power button, a mode switch that by default enables Turtle Beach's superhuman hearing mode for extra kind of awareness when you're in games, as it were, alongside a volume roller and a chat mix roller as well. And these two rollers do feel the same, so when you're in the heat of battle and you want to choose between one or the other, it can be a little bit fiddly knowing which one's which, considering you'd have to take the headset off and obviously look back for reference. That's just something to bear in mind. The fact that they are a little bit kind of bunched up on one ear cup can make things a little bit fiddly, and perhaps a more even spread across both ear cups would have made things a little bit easier. As well as being packed with a fair amount of media controls, the Stealth 700 Gen 2 Maxes are also packed with a very large amount of features, including some rather vast compatibility. These cans will work well with both Xbox, PlayStation, PCs, Macs, mobile devices, as well as a Nintendo Switch. And to be honest, this vast compatibility is helped along rather well by the fact that you can either connect this headset via this bundled USB receiver that you can choose between either a specific Xbox mode as well as just connecting to any devices by USB-A, as well as Bluetooth. Dual connectivity, or two means of connectivity specifically, isn't something traditionally seen in the headset world, but more in the world of gaming mice and keyboards in some instances, so it's nice to see this tech making its way into headsets for something a little bit more versatile. The pairing process for these is literally plug and play, well, as plug and play as Bluetooth is, and in the case of the USB receiver, just plug it into any open port that you've got, and these things should be recognised pretty much instantly. As well as this, being a wireless headset also means that battery life is also pretty integral, and I'm pleased to say that the Stealth 700 Gen 2 Maxes do feature a total of 40 hours before they'll conk out, which is rather long indeed considering how powerful these things are. It may not be up to the task of HyperX's Cloud Alpha Wireless's 300 hours, but let's face it, that's quite the anomaly in the gaming headset world, and in a general sense, 40 hours is pretty good indeed. Now, of course, a rather premium gaming headset shouldn't just look the part and have features to back that up, but it should also sound the part as well. After all, a gaming headset sound is perhaps its most integral feature, and I'm pleased to say that the Stealth 700 Gen 2 Max sounds rather rich, vibrant, and fantastic overall. Its 50mm drivers allow for some nicely rich and nuanced audio that means they're great for both listening to music and general gaming, and nothing in the mix really feels too overpowering and powerful. Too often gaming headsets can feature a shed-load of bass and not much more, so it's nice to see that these offer a little bit more subtlety and nuance, which is more reserved for slightly higher priced headphones than gaming headsets as such. There's no kind of crunchy bass, and the highs are nicely twinkly, and there's a rather good mid-range punch as well. It's nicely balanced, which is certainly welcome within games, and means that every part of a mix or a song is rather well represented, as is kind of apparent when you listen to these things properly. Alongside that nuanced and balanced audio, there's also some rather clever functions that the Stealth 700 Gen 2 Max have been bestowed with. As I said, by default you'll find that its mode switch, which is next to the power button, enables a feature known as superhuman hearing. Now, what this essentially is equivalent to are things like virtual surround sound or spatial audio to improve kind of placement of things. And what it does essentially is emphasises noises such as gunshots and footsteps within FPS titles to help raise your awareness. It's not the best to have as a feature enabled all the time, but for its specific purpose, it's quite a clever form of virtual surround sound and definitely can help to raise your game. The only real kind of bugbear I have with this specific pair of headsets, apart from its fiddly multimedia controls, is the fact that there's two separate suites of software. One for your PC that you'd think would be the main control kind of panel, as it were, for this headset, but is fundamentally only there to install any firmware updates, as the majority of the Stealth 700 Gen 2 Max's functions are actually controlled by Turtle Beach's mobile app. To be honest, once you get past the slightly fiddly installation process of having to work with two pieces of software, the actual software itself isn't so bad. I mean, you'll be able to handle everything from EQ presets to mic side tone and everything else in between. It's a clever piece of kit and actually is rather functional, but it's just the whole installation process and all the argy-bargy of getting it working does mar that experience somewhat. Other headsets such as Razer's Kraken V3 Hypersense that we featured on this channel keep things remarkably simple with one piece of software that installs on your PC and controls everything from lighting to EQ to virtual surround sound. So maybe for Turtle Beach it would have made a little bit more sense to do something along those lines rather than sticking with two separate suites. And on the front of the microphone, it's actually a return to form for Turtle Beach with the Stealth 700 Gen 2 Max's one, offering quite a clear and sharp sound. It doesn't really sound thin in the slightest, unlike a lot of other even premium headsets like HyperX's Cloud Alpha Wireless. Actually, on the front of the microphone, you may have noticed that there isn't a detachable boom one with the Turtle Beach Stealth 700 Gen 2 Max, and instead it takes the form of this rather thin plastic shaft that, in the general sense of the rather premium and rugged looks of the Stealth 700 Gen 2 Max, could be considered a little bit of an afterthought and maybe looks a little bit out of place. It instead takes the form of a rather clever flip-to-mute system that Turtle Beach seem to be implementing into their headsets, and considering their parent company is Corsair, it's also a feature that's making its way into Corsair's other headsets too. Essentially what this means is that there's no kind of dedicated mute button, as it were, and instead to mute the mic, all you have to do is flip it up back into the headset's housing and you're pretty much done. It's a nice and convenient process. Also, it's worth noting that if you are recording any audio with this mic, it is recording directly into Audacity in stereo, which is pretty handy indeed, as a lot of other mics and even more general USB ones also tend to record in mono, so having stereo playback is also quite useful as well. So, in conclusion, should you buy Turtle Beach's Stealth 700 Gen 2 Maxes? Well, if you're looking for a headset with some rather rugged and premium looks with a good construction, then you'll definitely find lots to like here. Also, with that voluminous padding, it should be quite a comfortable fit too. Also, if you're looking for some rather balanced and nuanced audio that should work well for both gaming and day-to-day listening to music and podcasts and everything in between, then you'll definitely find something to like. And also, if you're after app control rather than general PC-based software, then the Stealth 700 Gen 2 Max should also be a pretty good option too, as well as if you're looking for wide compatibility for that matter, given the plethora of devices that this specific headset works with. All in all, though, it's a pretty good attempt from Turtle Beach to provide a rather premium gaming headset, given that vast compatibility, meaty audio, and pretty good sounding microphone, but it is marred by that dual software suite and a slightly heavier frame that may not suit absolutely everyone. But all in all, it's a pretty good option if you're looking for a premium headset that will work with a shed load of devices. Now, all that really remains to be said is that if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and of course subscribe to the channel, and to ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. To follow us on Twitter and indeed Instagram, links should be appearing to those on the screen right about now. And of course, I'll leave a link down in the description to the Untitled merchandise store where you can pick up all manner of branded t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, wall art, and everything in between. It's all hosted on Spring and everything ships worldwide, and it's all of pretty decent quality. And also, if you like any of the kit we feature in these videos, be it this pretty decent Turtle Beach Stealth 700 Gen 2 Max, or any of the other keyboards, mice, laptops, multimedia controllers, microphones, headsets, and everything in between that we've had the pleasure of reviewing on this channel, then there'll be Amazon links down in the description to those respective videos where you can pick all that kit up. So once again, thank you very much for watching.